Alafia. I'm Philip John Neimark, the founder of IFA Foundations of North and Latin America. And welcome to the IFA blog. Today I want to talk about spiritual tools. There is so much confusion and misinformation regarding what a spiritual tool really is that I wanted to take the time to explain what we believe is the genuine understanding of the reality, the use, the effectiveness of spiritual tools. First of all, a spiritual tool is not generic in nature, meaning that one size fits all or one thing works for everybody simply is not the case in Yoruba philosophy. Indeed, the Yoruba saw quite clearly that to be most effective, a spiritual tool or connective device had to be consecrated and created with the recipient's energy matrix as an inherent part of that object. That was always done by allowing for an area of what we call triangulation. The energy of the priest to the energy of the Orisha, or energy we seek to connect with, to the third part of the triangle, the individual that is receiving this. So that this energy would be as powerful, as specific, as tuned in to the life path and potential destiny of the person as possible. And this leads us to another truth. And that truth is that there is no way to separate the energy of the priest that creates the tool from the tool itself. It is because of that very reality of triangulation. So that a priest whose worldview is flawed on any level, but most easily identifiable: gender discrimination, racial discrimination, sexual discrimination, national or ethnic discrimination, etc. If those are what the person feels inside, in other words, if the priest feels that women somehow are of a secondary level to men, that they cannot be treated equally, that a woman, for example, cannot receive a full hand of Orunmila or cannot be initiated into Ifa, then the tool that that individual creates will carry that energy and that message with it. It has to. So it's very important that the individual, the priest, the practitioner that you obtain your tool from expresses the worldview that coincides with your own. Here in the IFA Foundation, the tools that we produce reflect our view of no gender discrimination, no racial discrimination, no sexual discrimination, empowerment equally for all men and women, regardless of any specific color, choice, behavior, etc. Finally, there is an overriding truth to all of this, and that is that the tool itself will only be as potentially powerful as the energy, again, of the individual creating it. Recently, one of my newer initiates wrote and asked for the directions for creating a rather substantial tool. And I wrote back that, meaning no disrespect, it was my opinion that he was not ready to do this yet. And he said, well, he didn't understand. He knew he was new. He knew the tool would be new, but he felt that through working with the tool and through feeding the tool, etc., that the tool itself would grow. Yes and no. By working through that, with that tool, by working through that energy, and by offering sacrifices and embos, the tool would indeed grow to its potential. But its potential would be limited by the power and energy, the wisdom and knowledge, and the matrix of the individual that conceived it. And a young, for example, Ifa priest is very unlikely to have achieved the greatest level of wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and use of energy, etc. The metaphor to understand this completely would be if you wanted to, learn to play the violin, and you or your mother went to the store and bought you a $50 violin or a $20 violin. And indeed, you could learn with the bow and you could follow the book, and you would probably, if you worked hard at it, be able to produce a melody or a song that somebody around you would recognize and say, gee, look, what a talent. And that's fine. But if what you want to be is a really expert violinist, if you want to be one of the top violinists in the world, you will eventually have to migrate to an instrument that can produce the subtleties, the nuances, which exhibits the construction and perfection of a master violin maker. Meaning that even as a youngster, if you had an instrument that was potentially a Stradivarius, capable of producing the world's most magnificent sounds, you couldn't possibly produce them initially, and probably for many years. But by working with good character and with your complete devotion, you would be able to produce them at some point in the future because of the unlimited potential of the instrument you had on hand. And ultimately, that is the truth, the bottom line truth of anybody looking to add a spiritual tool, connective tool, point of energy tool within their lives, whether it be for protection, whether it be for romance, whether it be for family, whether it be for health, whether it be for prosperity, for any of those things, that tool will ultimately be as effective and potentially powerful in direct relationship to who created it. This is not meant as an ad for the tools that the Foundation produces. We're very lucky. Not only have we been doing this for almost 40 years, but we were magnificently endowed or able many years ago to come into possession of the late Afolabi Apega, my good friend and mentor's grandfather's Igba, the source of basic power, ultimate power for Naluo in Ifa. And that Igba, with its years and years and years of ashe, of spiritual energy, undoubtedly added and continues to add to the work that we do. But whether it's something that you choose to purchase or to inquire about at the Foundation is not the question. The question is, be sure you understand the basic criteria of what spiritual tools are, what they can do, how much they can do, and how important it is to understand and coalesce and coincide with the worldview of the individual that created it, and then to make a judgment upon their expertise and energy. Until next time, love and blessings.